Welcome to Affection Unbound. Let's get started with today's story. I was elbow deep in flour at my bakery in Austin, Texas, rolling out dough for the morning cinnamon rolls when my phone pinned on the counter. It was a notification from our shared bank app, another withdrawal, this time for $500 at a boutique downtown. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened it, expecting maybe a grocery run or something for the house. But the transaction history told a different tale. Lingerie shops, fancy dinners at places we'd never been together, hotel charges in the suburbs. My husband, Derek, had been working late a lot lately, but this was the thread that started unraveling everything. I didn't freak out right away. Instead, I took a screenshot, closed the app, and went back to the dough, pressing harder than necessary. The bakery Sweet Haven was my baby built from scratch after years of saving while Derek bounced between sales jobs. We'd been married 5 years, high school sweethearts from a small town outside the city, but lately he'd been distant, always on his phone, smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. That night, I waited until he was asleep and checked his phone. The passcode was still our anniversary date sloppy, Derek, really sloppy. There it was, in his messages, a chain with our neighbor Carla from 2 doors down. Can't wait for tomorrow, babe. Same time at the motel. Her replies were full of hearts and details that made my stomach turn. Photos to ones that confirmed they'd been at it for months. Carla, the friendly divorcee who'd borrowed sugar more times than I could count, who I'd invited to barbecues and trusted with house sitting when we traveled. The betrayal hit like a gut punch, not just from him, but from her. She'd smiled in my face while sneaking around with my husband. I put the phone back, slipped out to the living room, and sat in the dark, letting the anger simmer into something colder, sharper, no tears, no screaming match. I wasn't going to give them that. Instead, I started planning. First, I needed proof solid, undeniable. Over the next week, I played the oblivious wife, all smiles, and how was your day? While I quietly installed a tracking app on his phone during one of his showers. It was legal enough since the account was joint, and I wasn't hacking anything fancy. The app pinned his locations. Her house when he said he was at the gym, that seedy motel off I-35 multiple times. I saved every log, every timestamp. Then came the financials. Derek had always been lax with money, letting me handle the bills since the bakery brought in the steady income. I logged into our joint accounts and transferred what was mine, savings from my business profits, into a new solo account. ID opened that morning at a different bank, nothing shady. It was all traceable, but it left our shared pot lean. I called my lawyer, an old friend from college named Rebecca, and scheduled a consult. Irreconcilable differences, I told her, but really it was about protecting what I built. Sweet Haven was in my name only, thank God, but the house was joint. We drew up papers quietly, aiming for a clean split where I'd buy him out, but that wasn't the revenge. No, that came later. I decided to hit them where it hurt, their egos, their secrets, in front of everyone who mattered. Austin's tight-knit community meant word traveled fast, especially in our neighborhood. We had a block party coming up, the annual 4th of July bash I'd helped organize for years. Grills, fireworks, the whole American dream vibe. This year, I'd host the main event in our backyard, inviting the whole street, including Carla. Derek thought it was business as usual. He even helped set up the tables. "You're the best, Laura," he said, kissing my cheek like nothing was wrong. I smiled back, bile rising in my throat. The party was the perfect stage. Behind the scenes, I prepared my props. I printed out the messages, the photos, blurred where needed, but clear enough, the bank slips showing he'd used our money for their trysts. I stashed them in an envelope in the kitchen drawer. Then I reached out anonymously to a local gossip blog, Austin Insider, the kind that thrived on suburban scandals. I sent them a tip, prominent local salesman cheating with neighbor evidence attached. No names yet, just enough to get them sniffing. They bit, emailing back for more. I held off, timing it for maximum impact. As the week dragged on, I watched Derek and Carla steal glances across fences, thinking they were so clever. I baked like a machine, channeling the fury into perfect pastries that flew off the shelves. Customers raved, business boomed ironic, how betrayal fueled my success. The night before the party, Derek came home late again, reeking of her vanilla scent. Client dinner, he lied. I nodded, served him lasagna like the dutiful wife, and went to bed early. Sleep didn't come. Instead, I refined the plan. No violence, no hysterics, just exposure, cold and calculated. Let the community do the rest. July 4th dawned hot and clear. Neighbors trickled in by noon. Families with kids, couples we'd known forever. Even Derek's boss from his car dealership job who I'd invited special. Carla showed up in a sundress, all innocent smiles, hugging me like a friend. "Laura, this looks amazing," she gushed. I hugged back, whispering, "You have no idea." Derek manned the grill, flipping burgers, playing the perfect host. Music blared, laughter filled the air. I waited until peak crowd, about 50 people milling around, then clinked a glass for attention. "Everyone, thanks for coming." Before the fireworks, I have a little announcement. The yard quieted. Derek looked puzzled but grinned. Carla froze by the punch bowl. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the Bluetooth speaker we'd set up for tunes. "Derek and I have been together a long time," I started, voice steady. "But recently, I learned some things that change everything." Gasps rippled as I played a recorded clip of his voice from a voicemail to her, snatched from his phone. "Baby, last night was incredible. Can't wait to do it again." Then I held up the envelope. "For those who need more, here's the proof. Texts, photos, hotel receipts paid with our money." I tossed copies onto the picnic tables. Chaos erupted. Derek's face drained of color. "Laura, what the hell?" he stammered, lunging for the papers. Neighbors whispered, some grabbing sheets, eyes widening. Carla bolted for the gate, but not before someone shouted, "Homewrecker." Derek's boss shook his head, muttering about company image. The gossip blog? I timed the full drop for right, then their post went live mid-party, pinging phones across the yard. "Local affair explodes at block party," the headline read, with blurred pics and details. Shares started immediately. Derek tried to pull me aside, face red. "This is insane. We can talk about this privately." "Too late," I said calmly. "You made it public when you snuck around in our neighborhood." He stormed off, grabbing his keys, but not before half the street gave him dirty looks. Carla's house went dark that night, no lights, curtains drawn. By evening, the party had turned into a support rally for me. Friends hugged me, offered couches if needed, even helped clean up. Rebecca texted, "Papers ready to serve tomorrow?" I slept alone in our bed, the house feeling bigger, freer. The revenge wasn't just the exposure, it was watching their world crumble while mine stood tall. But that was only the beginning. The real fallout came in the days after. Derek didn't come home that night crashed at a buddy's, or so he claimed in a frantic text. Carla's car vanished from her driveway by morning. Rumor had it she'd fled to her sisters in Dallas. The neighborhood buzzed like a hive. Texts poured in from friends. "You okay? Need anything?" Even strangers from the blog's comments section messaged support on my bakery's social page. Sweet Haven's reviews spiked sympathy likes, I guess, but sales jumped 30%. People came in whispering, "Heard what happened." "You're a badass," I smiled, handed out free samples, and let the wave carry me. Monday, Rebecca served the papers at his dealership. I pictured his face when the process server walked in, all professional in a suit, dropping the divorce bomb in front of coworkers. He called immediately, voice cracking. "Laura, this is overkill. We can fix this. It was a mistake. Mistake? Months of lies, our money funding motel romps. That wasn't a slip. It was a choice. Sign them, I said flatly and hung up. No negotiation. I'd already changed the locks that morning, a locksmith from Yelp swapping out every deadbolt while I sipped coffee on the porch. The house key on his ring? Useless now. But the revenge deepened. See, Derek had always bragged about his sales gig top performer, schmoozing clients at golf outings. His boss, who'd witnessed the party meltdown, wasn't thrilled. By Tuesday, word trickled back. Derek was on probation, client meetings reassigned. Image issue, they called it. Carla? Her real estate job tanked too. She sold homes in our suburb, but after the scandal hit the blog and spread to local Facebook groups, listings dried up. Potential buyers Googled her name and found the dirt. She resigned quietly, or so the grapevine said, before they could fire her. I didn't stop there. Our joint credit cards. I reported his unauthorized charges, the lingerie, the dinners as fraud. Not all, just enough to trigger investigations. The banks froze the accounts, and Derek's credit score plummeted. He texted begging, "This is ruining me." "Call it off," I replied with a screenshot of the divorce filing. "Your choices, your consequences." Then blocked him, clean cut. Meanwhile, I thrived. The bakery became my fortress. I hired an extra hand, a young barista named Mia, fresh out of community college, to handle the rush. We expanded the menu. Revenge rolls, cinnamon buns with a spicy kick, marketed tongue-in-cheek on Instagram. They sold out daily. Friends rallied. A girls' night turned into a weekly thing, wine and venting on my now empty couch. No more Derek's sports memorabilia cluttering the walls. I donated it all to Goodwill. Reframed the space with my art, photos from solo trips I'd taken pre-marriage. A week later, Derek showed up at Sweet Haven during lunch hour, eyes bloodshot, suit rumpled. Customers hushed as he approached the counter. "We need to talk," he muttered. I wiped my hands, voice loud enough for the room. "About what?" "How you screwed Carla while I paid the bills." Gasps, he flushed. "Not here." "Why not?" "You didn't mind public when it suited you." He left, tail tucked, patrons clapped. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. Carla tried reconciliation too, a tearful voicemail. "Lavra, I'm so sorry. It just happened. Can we meet?" I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded it to the blog anonymously, letting commenters tear her apart. Her social media went private, then dormant. Last I heard, she'd moved out of state, chasing a fresh start in Colorado. Good riddance. The divorce finalized in record time, 3 months, no contest. Derek got half the house equity, but with his credit wrecked, he couldn't buy anything decent. Ended up in a dingy apartment complex off the highway, the kind with thin walls and questionable neighbors. Me, I refinanced, kept the home, turned the guest room into an office for bakery expansions. Business loans came easy now. My story made me a local icon of empowerment. Podcasts invited me on anonymous at first, then full name. How I Baked My Way Out of Betrayal, one episode titled. Months passed. One crisp fall evening, I sat on the porch with a pumpkin spice latte, my own recipe scrolling old photos. There was Derek and me at our wedding, all smiles in that Austin chapel. I deleted them one by one, no regrets. The sting had faded, replaced by steel. I'd rebuilt stronger, surrounded by real friends, a booming business, and the quiet pride of knowing I'd turned their deceit into my triumph. Derek faded into irrelevance. Last sighting, pumping gas at a station near work, alone, looking hollow. Carla vanished from my radar. Their affair, meant to thrill, left them exposed and broken. Mine was the ultimate revenge, not destruction, but rising above, leaving them in the dust. The house felt full now, alive with my energy, and Sweet Haven, it wasn't just a bakery anymore. It was proof that from ashes, you can rise sweeter than before. Thank you for watching.